For thousands of years, they've been galloping through the pages of prophecy, their names tied to the end of days. Today, we're cracking open the case file on one of history's most terrifying visions. Chilling, right? That single line from the book of Revelation has stuck with us for centuries. But here's a thought. What if it's not just some ancient story?
And that's the big question we're digging into today. We're going to sift through the evidence piece by piece and see if the echoes of these ancient warnings are maybe getting louder in our modern world.
So, our investigation kicks off with the first rider. He's often seen as the most mysterious of the four. Let's open the file on conquest. Here's the thing about this first horseman. He's not your typical brute force conqueror. The thinking is that this is about something much more subtle. We're talking about a conquest of the mind, a powerful idea that sweeps across the world, promising one thing, but maybe delivering something else entirely. Okay, and this is where these ancient symbols get a seriously modern update. A crown isn't just for kings anymore, right? It could easily be the massive influence of today's powerful leaders. And a bow, a weapon that strikes from a distance, that feels almost exactly like modern propaganda or a cyber attack. You know, conquering without a single soldier ever crossing a border. And riding out to conquer? Well, in our world, an idea can go viral and take over faster than any army in history ever could. So we go from that kind of subtle, snaky conquest to the second horseman, who is anything but subtle. Let's pull the next file. War. Yeah, there is zero mystery with this one. The Red Rider is all about raw, violent conflict. The prophecy says he's given the power to take peace from the earth. Just think about that. It suggests a world where conflict is the new normal, where war and unrest are just a fact of life. And wow, the parallels today are pretty stark. The power to take peace? I mean, just look around at the constant conflicts and proxy wars all over the globe. A great sword was terrifying back then, for sure, but it's nothing compared to the insane, destructive power of our modern weapons. And that line about men slaying one another, that just hits a little too close to home when you see so much civil unrest and deep, deep division everywhere you look. You know, that phrase, from another prophecy, feels like it was written for our 24-hour news cycle. It's just a constant headline, isn't it? And this is a really important question to ask. Humans have always had wars. That's nothing new. But is what we're seeing now different? Are all these patterns coming together and getting stronger on a global scale? Just like the old prophecies said they would? Right on the heels of war, a totally different kind of crisis shows up. So let's look at our third case file, the Black Rider of Scarcity. This rider brings a crisis that hits every single one of us right where we live, the economy. He represents a world where the most basic things you need to survive, like food, are just priced so high that the average person can't afford them. The details here are just fascinating. The pair of scales, that's a classic sign of economic judgment, of things being totally out of balance. A quart of wheat for a day's wage, that is a picture-perfect description of hyperinflation, where you work all day just to buy enough food for a single meal. And then the instruction to not harm the oil and wine, the luxuries, paints a stark picture of a massive wealth gap, where the rich are totally protected from the crisis hitting everyone else. And now, we've arrived at the final and most feared figure. He's the one that follows conquest, war, and famine. Let's open the last file, the Pale Rider. See, unlike the others, this rider's name is stated right outright, death. He isn't a symbol of death, he is death. He's like the terrible culmination of all the previous disasters, causing widespread death through a perfect storm of threats. And this is where these ancient threats really line up with our most modern fears. The prophecy lists a deadly combination: sword, hunger, and plague. It's describing an interconnected crisis where war leads to famine, which weakens people and makes them vulnerable to disease, a horrible domino effect that can spread across the entire globe. We really don't have to look very far to see an echo of this one. We all just lived through a global health crisis that showed us exactly how fast a disease can jump across borders and disrupt every single part of our lives. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? When we look back at something like that, are we just seeing a health crisis, or are we maybe seeing the shadow of the fourth horseman? So, after going through all four files, what have we found? Where does this investigation leave us? Let's review the evidence on the board. All right, it's all laid out here. The White Rider, we see the echoes of ideological conquest and deception. The Red Rider, we can trace his mark through constant global conflict. The Black Rider, his shadow falls over our unstable economies.
And the Pale Rider, we've seen his chilling reflection in global health crises. Any one of these is concerning. But when you put them all together, the pattern becomes pretty hard to just ignore.
So that's the final question, the one I'm going to leave with you. Are we just living through a chaotic, turbulent time with a bunch of disconnected crises? Or are we actually watching a single ancient pattern unfold, as if four shadowy figures are really riding across the world today? I'll let you decide.